Now I'm going to get in real trouble. Did I say my own human resources? Oh, sometimes I skip my own. That's the most embarrassing. Blythe, help me out. Who am I forgetting?
It's like taking a challenge.
Yes, it is. And I actually make the advisors tell me this. And if they mess it up, I really get on them.
So you got accounting.
Yeah, I got accounting.
Human resources.
Yeah, business management I haven't done.
Finance.
Which one? I got sports. I remembered that one. Finance I didn't do. Marketing I did. Project management I didn't do. Cross-functional is the last one I was going to do, but yes, that is the interdisciplinary one. Okay, did I get them all? Close? Close. I haven't skipped anybody's. Cross-functional I want to mention for a moment, specific to that concentration. Some of you are at that point in your career where you are trying to customize a particular program to a particular job, a particular career path that doesn't fit neatly into one of the buckets that we've defined. There is an option in cross-disciplinary or cross-functional that allows you to look at the inventory of courses, work with your advisor, or work with one of the career counselors about what type of background makes sense for what I want to do. For example, very popular in the healthcare field right now is healthcare IT and the different databases and such that go with healthcare and pharmaceuticals. It would not be unreasonable, you have up to 5 electives, to take 2 of them in IT and 3 of them in healthcare in order to build that. Or accounting information systems. Would not be unreasonable to take 3 accounting courses and 2 IT courses to build a curriculum towards that particular activity. I just encourage you to talk to your advisor about what you have planned, talk to the career counselors about what you have in mind, look at what's important to your field to make sure it's going to match what your goals are. But it is it's probably one of the most popular of the concentration choices is the cross-disciplinary part of it. Okay? Majors. We have 3 majors in what we do. The MS in accounting, the MS in IT, and the MS in cybersecurity. The MS in accounting really is oriented towards preparing for the CPA. Once again, we believe industry is important. Industry certifications are important. We pay close attention to the Texas State Board of Public Accounting. We make sure that we have the kinds of things you need to do if you're preparing for the CPA. Now, certainly you don't have to get a CPA. There are lots of accountants who don't pursue that path. But it is something we find important because we believe that industry certification is something representing a strong basis or foundation in the practice of your field. IT and cybersecurity, and I'll say cybersecurity especially, one of our crown jewel programs. I don't know, I mean, certainly the people who are already in cybersecurity IT already know this, but for the rest of you, the University of Dallas is one of a handful of universities who have been designated by the NSA and Homeland Security as a Center for Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity Education. And at one time, we were the only business school that carried that designation. I believe there's another business school now, so I don't believe we're alone in that designation. It's held by a number of computer science departments or crossover departments between computer sciences, engineering, and business on it. But we're very proud of it. It's a great distinction. They audit us. They make sure that we are of a quality of a program. We are a program that is contemporary and up to date in questions of cybersecurity and forensics and those sorts of things that are important to that field. So we're very proud of it, and you should be proud of it. It's something really exciting for that program. Why are we different? I've hit on it a little bit. I gave you the history of it, but I want to talk in detail so that you really understand. If somebody says, well, why is your MBA any different from your MBA? It's about the experience in the education. So I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into when we say experiential education, practice-based education, experience in your MBA. There is a particular philosophy of education that's based on adult learning. A lot of education is based on something called pedagogy. If you have kids in school at any of the ISDs or whatever, they talk about the pedagogy, what's in the curriculum. And that's how a lot of training and education is built, even in colleges. Pedagogy is learning for children. We believe in andragogy. It's learning for adults. There are particular principles to andragogy. They're usually attributed to a gentleman named Knowles. But in general, what is it? Adults come with a package of expectations, backgrounds, and needs. Very different than children. Children are like blank slates. They're like a chalkboard you can draw and write on, and they just soak it up and you can do whatever you want to do. Adults' chalkboards are already filled in. And adults know generally what else they want on that chalkboard. And they want to see how one part of the chalkboard relates to another part of the chalkboard. And they want to see how when they put something on their chalkboard, it's important to something else. And they want to be part of the decision about how we put that on the chalkboard and what we put on that chalkboard. That's all important to enhancing the adult learning experience. So we're built around those principles and drives our experiential learning approach. Okay. What's it going to look like in your classroom? In your classroom, there's a whole, I would call this a continuum. There's a continuum of things you'll encounter that go from less intensive on experiential learning to more intensive on experiential learning. So for sure, you're going to see some case studies. Lots of business schools do case studies. That's a standard of business education. You'll try some surveys, instrument batteries, especially in behavioral classes. You're going to do some scenarios, especially in behavioral classes, to get you practicing it. Taking it a little bit further, simulations, spreadsheets, modeling, practice, especially accountants, practice sets, the doing of whatever it is that you would do in the workplace that makes it easier and more likely that you're going to transfer that learning from the classroom to your workplace. And then finally, and this is really, I think, what makes us a little distinctive, is taking it to the highest level, doing it in the field. That's true experiential learning. That's not practicing it and then doing it. That's doing it out there. Every single one of you in the MBA program will have a particular experience, and that's our capstone field projects. Before you graduate, you're going to have to do a client-based program in the field. And we have clients who we have done for years, semester after semester, and we have new clients that come in and rotate in with new projects throughout it. It's usually a team-based project. It's all over the board, the types of projects that they contract with us for you to get a chance to work on. The accounting students and the IT students in the MS programs, you have a separate program where you also do projects, and you do a group one and an individual one in the accounting. And in the IT area, it actually culminates in what we call a thesis. Not the traditional academic thesis, but the thesis project of an issue or a problem in cybersecurity. I'm trying to think of what some of my students have done. I'm not an IT person, so half the time what they're doing, and I watch their presentations, is a little beyond me, but it has a lot to do with, I watched a guy figure out, he took a series of computers and forensically tried to read the fingerprint of the programs that were on there before when somebody wiped them off, and he figured out how to get on them and how much could he pull up and how could you wipe a computer so nobody could get to it. That sort of hands-on questions that are dealt with in cybersecurity and forensics and those types of questions. Many of the classes, in addition to capstone, bring clients into the classroom to do smaller projects that they may be dealing with that are pertinent to that particular class. And we also do sponsor practicum and internships. Like I said, undergraduates, all the undergraduates have to do a practicum, 400 hours. The early career program has to do an internship or practicum every semester. You all have the option to do an internship as part of your program for credit, especially international students. That's an option to make internships available to you in the US to get more experience in a cross-cultural environment. And we encourage those strongly because we believe a good deal of the best quality learning occurs over here on the continuum. Okay. Now I've given you an idea what it is. You say, well, doesn't everybody do this? Why wouldn't you do this? There are other ways to learn. So what is it is not? Okay. And of course, I'm showing you a PowerPoint slide today. So death by PowerPoint. And it's not that I don't have faculty who love PowerPoints. So don't think you're going to get out of it. I've got some of them who love their PowerPoints, stacks of 40 or 50. But your classes should not be dominated by PowerPoint slides. They make good organizing tools. That's what I use them for. It organizes what I'm talking about, or I'd be all over the world. They make great visual aids to illustrate points. My other area besides human resources is statistics and data analysis. Those are hard to understand unless you have a visual aid with them. So it's very effective. Being read to. And if one of your faculty members sits in front and reads to you, be in my office the next day, because I will stop that. That is not a healthy way to learn in a classroom on it. Y'all can read your own books on it, so please let me know. But you should never experience that. Being lectured to sleep on it. We run 3.5-hour classes on regular weeknights after you've been to work all day, and we run up to 8-hour classes on Saturdays sometimes. That's a long time to lecture, believe me. I used to be a lecturer, and even I couldn't make it through the 8 hours. We would break and do other things on it. Multiple choice and true-false quizzes. Those are primarily undergraduate tools. Now, we use them a lot as assessments. It's not unusual to see a little self-assessment where are you understanding the material, are you moving ahead on it? And we use it a lot to mimic certification exams, including the CPA, knowing that that's the environment you're going to encounter. But we are far more interested in evaluation methods and education that has you doing something, team-based projects, client-based projects, where we can see you in action in the field or in a simulation to see where you're getting at in your ability to apply the information. And then this is a risky thing with experiential education, this last point, activity for activity's sake. The first time I was a professor years and years ago was at a school that was also experiential based. It was a state university up in New England. I had come out of a lecture-based program, so I really just jumped in the pool. And I went to one of the professors who was very popular to watch, or for students to take classes. I went to observe to try to pick up some points. The thing I noted, it was a very entertaining class, but it was activity after activity that had no purpose to them. It was just to be doing something. And they were fun activities. My favorite, and it probably wasn't meant to be this way, that was the night he did, it was an org behavior class, and for some reason the instructor did the little trust exercise where you fall backwards in people's arms. And he called one of the students forward who clearly did not want to be part of this exercise. And he told the kid to stand behind him, and he was going to cross his arms and fall backwards. And the kid stood behind him dutifully, and he goes, no, 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 step back a little further. And the kid, no, 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 step back a little further. He had the kid standing way back, and it was not carpeted. This was a tile over cement floor. And so he starts falling backwards. That kid ran forward and caught him about this far above the floor. Now, he got up and he was mad at the kid. I would say, well, don't tell him to stand way back if you're going to do it. But the exercise had no meaning other than to just about drop the professor on the floor for it. We have to have meaning and reason to do our projects. And there are better ways to do an experiential learning. So as you're going through your learning, this is one of my tips for the road. Approach it systematically, and whether the professor explicitly or implicitly applies an experiential learning model, organize it in your head to understand what's going on. It's a cycle. It typically starts with an experience, whether that's a scenario, an exercise, a client project. It typically has some sort of reflection, looking back on it, asking questions about why was that done that way? Why did a person react that way? Why would a consumer behave that way given that? Or why would an employee respond that way given that stimulus? And then it should come to a systematic understanding, the theory behind it, bringing what you saw and thought about into a model. So you should be able to model it with a behavioral model, a financial model, a systems model, whatever area you're studying.